It's hot out there and things flare like tempers when it gets this hot. The Chiefs are making progress, and these are actually good signs. We're going to tell you why today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, friends and neighbors. Chiefs Kingdom around the world. It's nice to see you. It's Wednesday, so we are going to break it down from training camp with Matt Derrick, the man in charge of Chiefs Digest, giving you all the insights that he always does. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, as well as NFL33.com, which I would ask you to go check out, and RGRFootball.com, along with Chris Clark, our man in charge over at KC Chiefs Corner. Check him out as well. We have a lot of fun here. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. That's your team every single day for all the teams. Go check out another team or another show for your next listen. We would appreciate it. You can get all the information here on this show, starting on YouTube, where it's free, just like everything else, as well as all the audio platforms. And if you want that much more, you can get on the text line at 816-357-8781. I hope that's easy to remember. It's pretty easy for me at this point, but hope you guys will enjoy it. We're going to run it down for you. A busy day 7 at training camp. I know it's hot out there. For those of you that were in attendance, you know exactly how hot it is. A lot of things happened. There's crazy stuff going on for one guy named Moore. We're going to tell you more about that coming up later. First, before we get to that, the tempers are definitely flaring. And I'm going to argue with these guys that is the best sign that I could have today when it's hot, and I don't want to be out there. But we're going to start with the news that is the news, and that is every team goes through attrition. This is the hurdle, Matt. Getting through training camp with as few injuries and as few significant injuries as possible is always a challenge. Attrition happens. Hollywood Brown goes down today. 2 other receivers, Xavier and Sky, get a little bit banged up as well. What I saw changed through the day. So you were there live. How did he look going up, getting into the cart, et cetera? What was your initial reaction to Hollywood?
Yeah, it wasn't entirely clear at first because you could see him pull up in the back of the end zone. The play happened right in front of us in the media tent, so you could see him pull up. And unless you were looking straight at him, I still haven't seen a good video that shows really what happened to that ankle. None of us saw specifically, so that led to some questions about just whether it might be a cramp or calf, hamstring, or something of that nature. Once he got over to the sidelines, it was pretty clear he was favoring his ankle, and that's what the athletic trainers immediately went to. So he went to the training tent, got an exam there, and then went back up the hill. He like I said, he limped a little bit. Didn't look like it was anything significant. Since then, Jordan Schultz has reported that it appears to be a minor issue and could be back tomorrow. I wouldn't be stunned if he's not back on Wednesday because they have an off day on Thursday. It's a chance to give him 2 days off. It's a light practice. There's not really any need to push him out there. And the Chiefs, when they have had some minor injuries, the camp that they say are a day or two, don't be surprised when they turn out to be 4 or 5. It just happens sometimes. So I don't mean to be cynical about this, but I was asked this earlier today, and I'll repeat it here. Hey, Hollywood Brown's going to miss games this year. This is not the injury that's going to cause it. The injury that causes him to miss games will be later. So don't worry about this one.
Yeah, I will say I'm going to be shocked if he kind of practices tomorrow, just based on the fact that they do have an off day on Thursday. I mean, it makes a ton of sense to give him an extra day off, and he's a guy that knows his offense, and they have big plans for him, so they're not going to push it any more than they have to. So to me, it makes a ton of sense to give him the day off tomorrow. And then you look at Sky Moore goes out with an injury, not really too worried about that one. Xavier Worthy gets injured, but comes back in. Still practicing. So, I mean, you're in the situation where you lose 2 of your starting wide receivers. At least one comes back in the same day. And was that a head injury from what I've seen reported?
Yeah, what happened was I believe, the second play of the first team period. So it was fairly early in practice. He went up for a ball. Najee Johnson and Brian Cook were both there. So it was a contested ball. He goes up for it. They were in the area, so there was a kind of a 3-way collision. It wasn't a hard collision. He just kind of elevated while they were there with him. Those guys didn't hit him. They were just there providing the coverage. He goes up. They all kind of got tangled up. Xavier goes to the ground and hit his head pretty hard. So the fact that they didn't take him back clearly shows they weren't concerned about a concussion of any sort. He did stay on the sidelines, so So once again, I mean, it looked like it was fairly precautionary. It doesn't look like it's going to be anything long term. If he had a sore neck from just hitting his head in the ground, wouldn't surprise me at all.
Minor injuries like that, you're going to sustain those as well. And every time you have to miss a rep, somebody gets that rep for you. So from my perspective, maybe the biggest winner is probably the guys that are just beyond what we project as the 6 right now. In Tyquan Thornton in particular being maybe the next guy up. Maybe Jalen Royals gets a little bit more volume here in the next day or two if 1 or 2 players has to miss. But that's also understanding that Hollywood is one of those top 3 that's pretty much on the field or will be in game situations all the time. Sky Moore is not. And so the loss of that, I'm not sure how that balances out, Matt. Who do you think is in the best position to reap the benefits of extra repetitions?
Well, the player that we saw get the most opportunities and at least bump up maybe the depth chart a little bit and get more looks was actually Nico Remigio. And that's because on the wide receiver depth chart right now, you would say that Nico's a little bit further down, that probably Tyquan Thornton has passed him up. So maybe being in that 5th spot, Jason Brownlee has been in that ballpark too. So you could probably make a case that, and he's had a rough couple of days, but he started getting more reps at the end of the practice with the ones, and he's been getting, so both those guys, Brownlee and Remigio, both benefiting. And, Remigio's roster battle at this point has really been, if he's a guy, his argument is a little bit different. It's kind of the opposite of most guys. Most guys are, if they're going to make the last position at wide receiver, you want to be able to play special teams. Remigio's is, well, if he makes the team, it's going to be because he's the punt returner, and then he's just going to have to be one of your receivers. So that's, it's a little bit of an interesting battle there. And that's why, if it comes down to Tyquan Thornton and Nico Remigio for a last roster spot, and you're talking about a gunner versus a punt return specialist, which one's going to make the team? Which one's more important? Well, probably Nico, but we'll see how it all shakes out. Especially injuries are going to play a part of it. But you mentioned, some of the guys that now are going to get more reps if these guys sit out for a day or two and get more opportunities. But I thought it was pretty interesting that Nico did step into the kind of X role with Worthy and Brown both out. So I think that kind of shows you just a little bit about where he is as far as what they think his best position is.
I was going to ask you about Brownlee because I did see that he had been practicing a little bit more and getting some. Tyquan Thornton, I think, is going to have a fantastic camp. I'm going to be curious. You start talking about the numbers at wide receiver. I do think that we have to be considering 7 at this point because I still think Rashee Rice is getting suspended, and I think that'll open up a spot. So, but he's been having a fantastic camp. But we have a lot more to talk about when it comes to training camp and this team. Tempers are starting to flare because it is hot outside, and Matt can attest to that. Coming up after this. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all of the overreactions that we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I am playing, and Locked On Chiefs is playing on Yahoo Fantasy Football, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making this your millionth league. I know I have a ton of fantasy football leagues, and I absolutely love the way that Yahoo Fantasy Football works. It makes it so much easier to track all of my teams and get all the players in where I want them. Our league's been running through Yahoo for years now. Easy setup, great mobile app, and the Smack Talk just hits differently in the message boards. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins on August 4th. Stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. That's yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl, and let's make this fantasy season the best one yet.
Lots coming. Everybody has to get their due when they're out on the field. And for some guys, especially younger guys who are trying to fight their way for not just more reps, but more playing time eventually, it has a tendency to hit about this time of year as things get hot, things get tired. Matt, first big fight at camp wasn't a rookie pestering some veteran, getting under his skin or anything. It was rookie on rookie action. You don't see that every year, but I personally am going to take the standpoint that is maybe the best thing because it tells me 2 things. One, both of these guys feel like they have something to fight for, despite one of them getting pretty much every rep at his position so far in camp. But the other is that they're comfortable enough that they're more worried about an individual play than what's going through their heads. And that tells me maybe they're not thinking as much as some rookies have to. How do you interpret this fight with Josh Simmons and Ashton Gelati?
I'm going to agree with everything you said except for one thing. I can't call it a fight. It was a scuffle. I mean, there was one. I think you could legitimately say there was one punch that didn't land, and so therefore not really much of a fight, but scuffle for sure. I mean, that was something. I mean, I think fight. I think Andrew Wiley, ripping off people's helmets and everything. So there's a standard here for calling it a fight. But I agree with the rest of it, which is honestly, I mean, unless it becomes a consistent issue of some sort, I like it when a guy shows some anger and shows a mean streak. I mean, in both those sides, because one, watching the video and seeing the fight live, I felt like that it was really kind of Josh Simmons that was extending the action. I mean, he was the one that kind of got it going there. And Ashton Gelati, to his credit, is like, I don't care if you're first round draft pick, I'm defending myself. I'm standing up for myself. And they've been going at each other a little bit. I mean, yesterday they had a one-on-one. Josh Simmons did throw Gelati to the ground. Now, notable, that was flagged by the officials. Had that happened in a real game, that would have been at least 10 yards back, if not 15 for Josh Simmons. So he's going to have to learn control himself a little bit. And today, okay. Nobody's getting mad about that fight. Nobody's getting mad about, those tempers flaring a little bit, because like you said, it is showing some emotion. But where there is going to be some pushback from the coaches and everything is going to be, wait a minute, you guys need to learn that when it's hot, when the pressure is on, or it's cold and the pressure is on, whatever it is, and you've got all these things that are on you, you can't forget your fundamentals. You can't just lose your temper for no reason. You got to be playing team football. So there's going to be a little bit of that. Hey, great anger, great, showing the emotion. Great, keep doing that. Play with that emotion. But remember, in a game, you do that, you might get tossed out of a game. So you got to learn to keep the emotions in check.
I'm going to take a little bit of a flare up of temper from the first round pick and Josh Simmons. I think that the offensive linemen need to be playing with a little bit of anger. Obviously, you don't want to get to a point where you're going to be getting penalties with it, but I do like the fierceness and the willingness to go after somebody. I think that is something that Trey Smith has shown throughout his career in Kansas City, and I've really always enjoyed that part of it.
It adds to the mix, right? You want to have something. And honestly, at this point in training camp, the offense has the advantage. They know where they're going, or at least they should. Which brings me to my other question, Matt. I know there's a lot of rotation going on the defensive side, but I'm not seeing as much aggression where I feel at some point, once it wears off, the offense actually knows where they're trying to get to on a given play, that the defense overcompensates and sometimes surges ahead. And I haven't seen that really yet. I feel like there's a lot of rotation in the secondary in particular that feels maybe more experimental than we've seen in the last couple of preseasons. How are you seeing it?
Yeah, the secondary is interesting, especially cornerback, because, you don't have Christian Fulton right now. So, if you're Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt, you're kind of trying to figure out what's your best rotation right now with an eye towards the future. What's going to be your best rotation down the road? Because those might not be the same thing. I mean, if you get Christian Fulton back and now you're feeling like Christian Fulton is your best number two, well, is Jaylen Watson the best to pair, with those guys as a third? Maybe not. I mean, it might be that there's a better pairing. And we've seen this before. I mean, we've seen them go down this road, and sometimes they have figured it out during training camp. Sometimes, like in 2019, Spags' first season, it took them until late November before they figured out what the rotation was at corner. So I think you could see, and this could absolutely extend a little bit into the regular season, especially if, depending on when Fulton gets back. But just because, like right now, Najee Johnson has been running basically as the number two the last few days. Jaylen Watson's been down with the second team. Do I expect that to continue? No. I mean, it's going to be fluid. There's going to be a lot more experimentation. The only thing that's been really consistent in the secondary that I think is interesting is that consistently, Chamari Connor and Brian Cook have been the starters, and Jalen Hicks has been the third safety. Still going to play a lot because the Chiefs are in, sub packages so much. But it's going to be how much are they in that look with three safeties with Hicks? Because I kind of thought by this point that Jaden Hicks might have already won a starting job. This indicates that he's a little bit further away. He's going to be the third for now. It really pinpoints that Shamari Connor is going to continue to be a nickel corner. He's going to be that slot corner a lot of the times. I don't think at this point that Trent McDuffie is going to be the nickel slot corner as much as maybe some people anticipated. I think he's going to be outside a lot more, but it's still early. All that could change.
It's interesting you go that direction. I would have figured that if Shamari Connor's your starting safety, he's not going to be playing a ton of nickel corner. But obviously, we'll see how that ends up turning out. I am surprised Jaden Hicks isn't going to be a starter at the safety position. I figured that was going to be almost a foregone conclusion, and Shamari Connor was going to be your third guy and coming in at nickel corner. It's going to be real interesting to see what they continue to do at that corner position, because when you start talking about Jaylon Watson getting snaps and then Najee Johnson getting snaps, and obviously Trent McDuffie's your starter, but the first day out in pads, Trent McDuffie went inside, so they've been kind of experimenting it all along, and it's just going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, and there has been a lot of experimentation, and that's why it goes back to, again, when they are in those nickel packages in particular, how often are they going to be out there with three safeties versus three corners? I think they're going to be out there with three safeties a lot more, because that's where you do get the flexibility of being able to put Connor wherever you want him to. And Spags has once again been talking about how much they just like him as a weapon and somebody that they feel like that they can deploy in a lot of different places. But it's also coming back to Chiefs haven't necessarily, found three corners that they are completely comfortable with. And so, yeah, if they've got three corners on the field, then Trent McDuffie is going to probably be in the slot a lot. If it's three safeties on the field, he's not going to be.
That makes a lot of sense. And that way that you can mix and match as well and get back to being truly multiple and not giving things away. Experimentation is how you get there. And it's not the only position that goes through it as well. I'm going to tell you this. It might be a little bit early, but I'm going to say Jaylon Moore is your sixth offensive lineman. It's not really a question mark. Matt's going to explain why right after this. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or trying to make memories with your friends, this one's a hole-in-one in your energy game. And to be honest, some days on the course or even off of it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and stay energized. I use it whenever I'm getting low on energy or I need to make it through a show or it's tough. Wherever the game is taking me, I can use 5-Hour and get back into that game. Golf is all about good times and good people, good flavors, of course. You got to have those. The grape, ginger, lime flavor use the best parts of the clubhouse to go without any chasing or the need for a bev cart. That helps. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can get the promo code LOCKEDONGolf and receive $20 off of your order. This offer is valid only until September 30th on one order and cannot be used for other promotions. The code is not good for subscription orders. Whether you're meeting with your friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get energizing boost that you need from your power, though. Order transfusion flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Make sure that you check out ChiefsDigest.com, where you can get Matt's work. Chiefs Digest here on YouTube, as well as 41 is the mic with Nick Jacobs and Matt. You see, it's a Matt thing here. You get the trifecta. You can find Chris at KC Chiefs Corner. You can get me over at RGR Football. I have something for you tonight, as well as NFL 33, where I do non-Chief stories. But some of my folks do Chief stories, so you'll get some of that as well. Make sure you check out all of our other outlets, because you got to cover it from all angles, Matt. And angles are the name of the game here, because I thought we had an idea when Jaylon Moore signed his contract what it was going to be. Luck has played a role in this, certainly. Investigation and prognostication has played a role in this. Now you have a left tackle. You don't feel you're going to need Jaylon Moore over there. So what's been the fallout, and where do you see Moore right now?
Yeah, you're right. If you go back to March when the Chiefs signed Jaylon Moore, I mean, obviously at that point you slotted him at left tackle because you needed a left tackle. But the Chiefs also knew that there was a chance they might draft a left tackle in the first round, and they did exactly that in getting Josh Simmons. And then the question was, hey, if Josh Simmons is healthy enough to play left tackle, he'll play left tackle, and Jaylon Moore will have a different role. And most likely it would be as a sixth offensive lineman. And that's exactly what we have seen in camp thus far. I mean, through these first 7 days and through 3 days now in pads, it's been Jaylon Moore, preparing him to be the sixth lineman. And, in the past, it's been a while, but the Chiefs, hey, Zach Fulton was probably the best example. Cam Irving was also an example, but players who can play 4 different positions for you. I mean, Zach Fulton could have played 5, but it's just when you how you utilize them, and they're preparing, Jaylon Moore with the idea that he could play 4 positions. Let's face it. Three of the Chiefs' offensive linemen have taken every snap of every first team period. So between Josh Simmons, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith, those 3 are your starters. Once again, Kingsley Suamataia and Jawaan Taylor have started as the starter in every single period of which that they've been available. Jaylon Moore has rotated in, but he's never taken, except for when Jawaan Taylor was out, he's never taken starter reps. I mean, he's always been a rotational piece later into the session. And that's what you do with your backups. That's not what you're doing. There is zero evidence at this point that there's any competition either at right tackle or left guard. The left guard competition is over. I mean, it is Kingsley Suamataia's job unless Kingsley Suamataia gives it away. It is his job to lose. I say it's even less so at right tackle. I mean, Jawaan Taylor is a right tackle. What else is he going to do? He's not playing left tackle. You're not going to absorb a $27 million cap hit for him to be your swing guy. And it's right tackle is what he does best. And honestly, what we've seen the last 3 days, I don't think that Jawaan Taylor has been that bad. I mean, he's even in his one-on-one periods, he had some good moves and he had some good sessions. So between that and the off-season knee surgery cleanup that he had, he's telling people behind the scenes and telling the Chiefs that he feels the best that he's ever felt while he's been in Kansas City. If that's the case, maybe you're going to get better play from Jawaan Taylor. But there is zero either evidence, zero talk about Jaylon Moore replacing Jawaan Taylor. And Andy Reid has done the same thing. I mean, he's like, you're just going to rotate those guys in there. I mean, he said at one point, the closest he got is that you got 3 guys for 2 spots. And I mean, Jaylon Moore's just not competing against anybody. He's going to be the 6th lineman. If anybody gets hurt, except that it's center, and maybe at guard. I mean, there might be a competition, hey, who's going to be the first guard in there? Will it be Mike Caliendo, Hunter Norzad, or Jaylon Moore? Center, there's no doubt it would be Hunter Norzad, but all those guys are making this team. I mean, that's the thing to me, is that the Chiefs' offensive line, their starters are set. Their 3 primary backups are set. The competitions are over. And there is not going to be a competition at any of these positions. Any competition that there was on the offensive line are over, because Josh Simmons has won the left tackle job. Kingsley Suamataia has won left guard, and right tackle was never a competition.
Absolutely love hearing that, because I look at this and I say, okay, if you can have Kingsley Suamataia and Josh Simmons grow together for the next 3 years, that's a win. That's a fantastic thing for this offensive line. Plus, you have Creed Humphrey and you have Trey Smith next to him. So that's fantastic for this offensive line. I like what you said about Norzad as well. I mean, he's going to be your guy that can step in and probably play that backup center role. That gives you, number 7 and Caliendo's number 8. So the question becomes, who are you going to keep at 9 and 10? And that's going to be what camp is going to be all about. It's going to be a question of, is Wanye Morris going to make this roster as another guy that can maybe play multiple different positions at offensive tackle, but maybe play inside at guard, which I don't know. I haven't seen anything saying that he's played in at guard at all. So if he's just playing offensive tackle, that kind of limits his availability. And then you have Ethan Driscoll, who made it last year in the same kind of boat, but he's strictly a right tackle.
Well, and all these guys you mentioned, for the most part, have been rotating at different spots. I mean, even like you mentioned asked about Morris and Driscoll have both taken spots at guards positions. Even all the way down to Chu Godric. Chu Godric was running with right guard with the 2s yesterday and was at left tackle with the 2s today.
Yeah, so, I heard you I saw you say that, and I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
For him to, I talked about that on yesterday's show. That's real interesting for them to rotate him in their guard to see if he can do something there.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been, I mean, like I said, there's been a lot of rotation in different spots. The Chiefs really only have 4 players with any serious center experience, and Mike Caliendo's even a part-time center. They brought in Joey Lombard to be the 3. CJ Hansen, if I remember correctly, has rotated in and gotten some work at the 3s, and he's played all 3 of those guard positions. Norzad and Caliendo have shared center and guard. Caliendo's kicked around at both guard positions. So everybody, I mean, and even on down, I mean, the guys like Dalton Cooper that are competing for backup, undrafted free agents, Essa Pole, they've both flipped sides. One's a guard, one's a tackle. Pole's the tackle. They've played left and right. So below the starting line, everybody is rotating and playing different spots and different sides.
I love to see it because that's how you find the next 6 that can be your swing, that can become a starter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that also makes you more resilient, I think, so that we're not in the situation we saw last year where you have 2 tackles that you can play, and that's really all you have. So overall, at this point in camp, from where we were a year ago, a week into camp, how much changes there? Are we drastically better than we saw the offensive line unit a week in last year? Are we about even? How do you feel about it?
I mean, that's a really good question, because I think you would probably say that at left tackle, you're significantly improved. And, and you could probably, argue, I mean, there'd probably be some who would say that maybe Joe Thuney's still a better left tackle than Josh Simmons is at this point in his career. I mean, that's not going to be said for very long because Josh Simmons is good. The one thing that Thuney at the end of the year had on Simmons now is that, Thuney is going to know the calls. He's going to know the changes at the line. Matt Nagy talked about that a little bit on Monday, about that's where probably, Simmons' weak point is right now, is understanding when adjustments are made on the line. He probably knows the play at the beginning, but when Creed Humphrey or Mahomes are making changes based on the mic and based on what they're seeing at the line, then that's where he still has a lot to learn. And and the pass off and the handoff between him and Kingsley at left guard, they're both new at this whole thing, so that's going to be an issue. So I can't tell you that, hey, in week 3, Patrick Mahomes might face a quick sack because both Simmons and Kingsley just complete miscommunication, didn't read things the same way. Maybe Simmons doesn't get the call from center and doesn't realize what he's supposed to do. Maybe they were just like, who had him? I thought you had him. Where'd who go? But that's going to happen. So you're probably going to live with that, especially because, I mean, as concerned as I was about the medicals on Simmons and that being my primary reason why I was sketchy on drafting Simmons, he's passed every test. He's got a couple more to go, but everybody that's knowledgeable about the subject that I trust on offensive line play has looked at Josh Simmons and has come back and said, yeah, Chiefs are set for the next 10 years. They're going to be fine. As long as this kid's healthy, they're going to be fine.
Had the best film in the draft. It wasn't close. And that's all you needed, right?
One of the exciting things that you said, and you said this very early on in this segment, talking about Kingsley Suamataia being the guy that is going to be the starter at left guard. If you have those 2 positions set and you have Creed Humphrey set, you can start working on the chemistry. You're not mixing and matching and trying to figure out who your best offensive linemen are. That's really important. And especially when you have 2 new guys on this offensive line this year, that's huge. And I cannot be more excited to see what this offensive line is going to be able to do. It may struggle early on in the season because let's face it, you have a rookie and a guy that basically didn't play very much last year in Kingsley Suamataia that's not much more than a rookie. So there could be some struggles early, but I am really excited about what they could be late in the season and beyond.
And I don't want to just add like 2 little notes at the end, which is that one of the reasons why you're certainly prepping Jaylon Moore on the right side is because, one, he hasn't played right tackle in 4 years. But the other part of it is that there's not a single person on this team that doesn't assume that Jaylon Moore is your starting right tackle in 2026. So that's what you're prepping for, a little bit of that right now. And the other thing I would say is that, that's the thing, and you kind of hit on it, is that if you can build the chemistry between this group, you could have this team together for a little while. But to me, the biggest thing, and this is where I just want to, I don't know, I don't want to be, violent or anything, but I just want to just shake people sometimes when they're like, they want to get rid of Jawan Taylor, because there's no option. He's got a guaranteed contract this year. I mean, you could trade him and convince the team to take on some of his salary, but nobody's taking on all 19.5 million for a right tackle. That's just not happening. And nobody's trading for Jawan Taylor to be their left tackle. So that's not happening. And guess what happens if you say, well, you're going to get rid of Jawan Taylor and you start Jaylon Moore? Jaylon Moore is just your swing tackle. That's exactly where you were last year when you had no depth. And the fact that you had no depth is a big reason why you lost the Super Bowl. So that's why I say, hey, if Jaylon Moore is your swing tackle, you are infinitely better as an offensive line than you were a year ago.
Yeah. And you know what I love about what you just said the most? I don't care that they went and paid Jaylon Moore $15 million to be a sixth offensive lineman.
No.
I don't care. You look at exactly what happened last year, and because they didn't have depth, because they didn't have this type of person, and they didn't have a left tackle, obviously, and now we think they've got that fixed. This is how you fix it. You overinvest, and then you're covered. And that's exactly what they've done. And they put themselves in their own situation when it comes to Jawan Taylor's contract. So you're right. There's no way out of that one.
No, the way is forward. And the way is to have at least 3 tackles at all times. That's the way that you get there, folks. Make sure you check out ChiefsDigest.com, Chiefs Digest here on YouTube, and all of Matt's work over at 41 is the mic. Matt, thanks for your time and your eyes and setting us straight.
And apologize for any sweat stains that you see. I mean, it's 102 degrees in the shade up in St. Joe. So I was told it was 120 on the turf today, and I absolutely believed it.
At least it's going to be cooler tomorrow.
And maybe some rain, so we can get more humidity. Thanks.
Yeah, fingers crossed, folks.
Make the mosquitoes even bigger.
And watch for those lightning strikes in case practice gets canceled. We appreciate you guys, and we appreciate you, Matt. I won't be out there until it's much cooler. That's for absolutely sure. Thank you for being with us. Make sure you check out all of the outlets and be back here tomorrow as we continue to break it down all the time on every angle with extra breaking news. If anything drops that you need to know about, you will find it here on Locked On Chiefs. Thanks for joining us today. We'll talk to you tomorrow.